Alright, so in this video I'm going to be talking about the conic section parabola, and I'm going to be talking about the equation of a parabola and how to take an equation and graph a parabola, and also how to take characteristics of a parabola and write the equation. So what is a parabola? Well, a parabola is a conic section that we saw is when a plane intersects the side of a cone and the base of a cone. And the formal definition is that it's the locus of points in a plane that are equidistant, so the same distance from a fixed point we call the focus, and a specific line called the directrix. So it's a set of points that are the same distance from a point and a line. Okay, so if we have an equation, it could look like this. We have y minus k squared equals 4p times x minus h. So that's one of our standard forms of the equation that this equation looks like. And it says we want to graph the parabola, and then we want to identify some of the characteristics: the vertex, the focus, the axis of symmetry, and the directrix. So I'm going to start with my picture, and as I go, I might start identifying some of the characteristics. So if I want to graph this, one of the first things that I'm going to start with is my vertex. My vertex is always hk, or it's going to come from the value in here with my x and the value in here with the y. So for x, I would have 2, that would make that equal to 0. And for y, I would have negative 5 would make that equal to 0. So my vertex is at positive 2, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and put a little v for vertex so I don't forget later what that point represents. All right, next up, the important part about my equation right here is this is what we call 4p. And p is the distance from the vertex to my focus. So if I take that negative 12, and I know that that's equal to 4p from my standard form of the equation, if I solve for p, then that means p would equal negative 3. So that tells me that my focus is 3 away from the vertex, and since it's negative, it's either 3 backwards or it's 3 down. So let's think about the orientation of the parabola looking at this equation right here. Whenever my y term is squared, we talked about how that form of the equation is for a horizontal parabola. So since it's horizontal, I'm going to start at my vertex, and I'm going to go 3 not down but 3 backwards since it's horizontal. 1, 2, 3, and end up right here at negative 1, negative 5 is going to be my focus. Negative 1, negative 5. Great. Okay. So now if I want to find my axis of symmetry, well, I know that my parabola is going to open around my focus like this, facing horizontally, and the axis of symmetry is then going to be this imaginary line that cuts my parabola in half. So the axis of symmetry would be the line y equals negative 5 here in my picture. And last but not least, the directrix. Now the directrix is always equidistant, or the same distance from the focus. So if the focus was 3 backwards, then my directrix should be from my vertex 3 forwards. 1, 2, 3. So it'd be right here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to draw a vertical line there, and that means my directrix would be at x equals positive 5. Great. Okay, so I've graphed it, and I found 1, 2, 3, all 4 of those characteristics. Let's take a look at the second one. It says determine the equation of the parabola that has a focus at negative 3, 3 and a directrix at x equals 1. I'm always going to start with just a picture again. I think that one of the easiest ways when you're dealing with conics is to draw yourself a picture of what you have. So I have a focus at negative 3, 3. Great. I'll put an F for focus so I don't get confused later with my vertex. And I have a directrix at x equals 1. So I have that vertical line and I have the focus. Now remember, the definition is that the focus and the directrix are equidistant from all the points on our parabola. So if I want to find the vertex, it should be right in between here. And if this is a total distance of 1, 2, 3, 4, that means it should be 2 from either side. So it's going to be right here at negative 1, 3. So I've got my vertex. Awesome. So I can start to write my equation. Let's see what we got so far and what we've got left. It looks like since it's going to open around the focus and away from the directrix, it's horizontal. So my standard form for a horizontal would be y minus k squared equals 4p times x minus h. because I have my vertex at -1, 3, I can go ahead and fill in here for my y and my h. So I've got y minus 3 squared equals 4p times x plus 1. And the last thing I need then to be done is just I need p. I need the distance from the vertex to the focus. And it looks like right here this distance is 2, but it's 2 backwards to the focus. So p equals -2, so I'm just going to plug that in. Y minus 3 squared equals 4 times -2 times x plus 1. So my final equation would be y minus 3 squared equals -8 times x plus 1. And there it is, there's my equation for my parabola.